Hi, this is Lydia Loveless, and you're listening to Walking the Floor.
I'm walking the floor over you.
Walking the floor.
I'm walking the floor. Walking the floor over you.
Hola, senors and senoritas. I'm Chris Shiflett, and it is Walking the Floor time. Thank you for joining me. It's been a nice week here in LA. I'm looking out into my yard. The sun is shining. The skies are blue. The leaves are brown and falling from the trees because it is fall in Southern California. The greatest time of year. The waves are coming up and the water is chilly. I love it. Who says we don't have seasons here? Not true. Oh, what did I do this week? I played 2 shows. I got my first 2 shows out of the way. I played Mollusk Surf Shop over there in Silver Lake. That was great, super fun. Thanks to everybody that came out to that. And also played the Rob Machado Foundation down at the Belly Up, and that was really fun. Packed house, everyone was like drunk and rowdy and drinking lots of water, because that's what Rob Machado Foundation does. They provide water for high schools, or for schools in general. Great cause, and it was a really, really fun gig. I got a couple more coming up. I got December 1st at Revo Surf Shop in Ventura, and December 9th at Revo Surf Shop in Camarillo. And both of those are going to be with my buddy Timmy Curran. So come on out to those. I'm doing it's just like a surf shop tour of Southern California. If you have any suggestions, other cool surf shops around California, or anywhere else that put on gigs, why don't you tweet it at me, because I'd like to know. And don't forget, I got those 2 shows coming up opening for X. One at the Casbah on December 18th and one at the Roxy on New Year's Eve. Oh, yeah. Oh, before I forget, let's talk about Zounds.com. Zounds.com. It is the website to get all your music gear. If you're a struggling musician out there, you don't want to pay those crazy expensive prices. You don't want to deal with some mean old salespeople that don't know what they're talking about because they're just like a salesperson, they're not a musician, then you got to get over to Zounds, because Zounds is staffed up by real musicians, and they're going to give you the best deal you can find on the entirety of the internet. Zounds.com. All right, let's get to the interview. Okay, I caught up with Lydia Loveless when she was out on tour a little while ago with the Drive-By Truckers. We had a nice little talk. It's kind of funny to listen back to it now, because I think it was like the day after the first presidential debate between Clinton and Trump, and of course now we're all looking at that in hindsight. So that was a little weird listening back to it. It was also before the Cubs won the World Series, so we talk about that too, but it was like before, so it's a little bit dated, but it was still a great conversation. We talked about a lot of different things: journaling on tour, growing up in the dial-up internet era, which made me kind of giggle, and also when I asked her why I'm seeing her name all over the place these days, she said it's due to the fact that she is less of a punk ass this time around. Those are her words, less of a punk ass. I didn't say it. Anywho, this is Lydia Loveless on Walking the Floor.
And I guess we're going out again.
Have you ever lost an entire podcast?
Yes.
Because that has happened to me before.
Yes.
It's awful.
Yeah, with a good friend, actually, who took the time out of his day to come speak for me for like 2 hours. And then when I tried to listen back to it, all I heard was, eee! Then I've had ones where my mic worked, but the other person, so I had to basically just tweak it. So it's not good.
That's got to be the worst feeling.
Yeah. Especially, being a musician, I'm supposed to know that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm supposed to not be like those other goofball podcasters.
Yeah, having done interviews, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we'd be, remiss if we didn't discuss the debates last night. I don't know if you're on tour. I don't know if you get a chance to sit there and watch.
We were driving through the middle of nowhere, so it kept cutting out, but it was luckily usually when Trump was speaking, so that helped.
Then you missed all the good stuff.
I missed him not answering a goddamn question.
Yeah, I was watching that last night. I was thinking to myself, young musicians everywhere should be watching this, because when you go on a promo tour, or do promo for your band, this is like a really good lesson taken to the extreme that you don't actually have to answer the question that you're asked.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually just talking to my manager about, like, what if I just do this whole podcast today as Donald Trump? And I'm just like,
you get no
I
argument
evade
here.
every question and call everything a disaster or tremendous.
Yes. Speaking of which, it seems like, I'm hearing your name all over the place lately. It seems like there's a lot of buzz on you.
Because I'm the best.
And your new record. I was teeing you up a softball right there. It's tremendous.
It's tremendous.
What's going on? Why do you think right now there's this buzz on you and your new record?
If I know. I mean, I'm super proud of the record, so I hope that it has anything to do with it being good and not just like being in the right place at the right time. But it's hard to say because,
What is the right place at the right time?
I don't know. Kind of getting
Bloodshot Records going, promote my record.
Yeah,
promote my record.
I mean, yeah, and kind of just getting new management and not to speak ill of my old management, but
you can speak ill of them here.
I mean, I love them to death,
That's
but
podcast
just
gold.
kind of like I kind of made it a point to really try extra hard this time around to like be less of a punk ass about everything and more serious about promoting it and even just making the record, more serious about production and sound and just less like, oh yeah, whatever happens, it's cool, man.
Right. But do you feel
makes sense.
like, are you feeling like on the business end of things that, you're saying you're taking more advantage of the promoting or whatever, but do you feel like you're getting more opportunities to be out there as an artist?
And I think that's just from, years of touring and, trying to make those connections and put my name out there. But it's also not being as afraid to do the things that you're supposed to do.
Like come here at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Which is a big ask when you're
like,
on tour. So thank
getting
you.
over whatever social anxiety bullshit, and yeah. I don't know. 9 a.m. is not that early. That's like normal people time.
Right. Well, early for when you're on tour, though. And
but yeah.
Did you play last night? Or?
I didn't, so
okay.
it's actually pretty
so that's
easy.
Not so bad.
I was boring. I actually did yoga before I came here, so I'm like on
really?
it today. Yeah.
Wow. So you're like totally centered and ready to give like deep,
zen.
insightful answers. So you're on tour right now with Drive By Truckers, right?
Yeah.
How's that going?
It's amazing.
Do you know those guys from before, or is this your first time?
Yeah. Well, I was a huge fan growing up, so that was, I was aware of them, and I was like, I never really want to see them play unless I can open for them, because I'll just be angry unless I can be like on stage. And a couple years ago, Patterson like tweeted me or something, and so we started talking, and I ended up doing a couple solo shows with him, and then we did their homecoming show in Athens last year. So that kind of got the ball rolling.
And have you, like gleaned pearls of wisdom from them on, sage advice for slogging it out on the road
of
kind
weed.
of thing?
I don't know. I didn't say that.
Is that the secret to their success? Is that? Did you just give me a scoop right now?
No, I mean, it is cool to see them. I really admire their career.
Yes.
They're
exactly the kind of thing I wish I had.
Yeah, they're just amazing, and they're still making, I think, great music. It hasn't dulled for me, and they're really nice people and really genuine. Like, you don't get the sense that they're coming in the green room like, just want to make sure you're okay, and then they like don't actually give a shit.
Right.
They're really good people, and I think they have a great work ethic, and I also really admire what they're doing right now, particularly. I mean, I think they've never really been anything but, well, I shouldn't call them a political band, but, a social issues band.
Sure.
And I don't think that anything has changed about that. And it's really funny to see what they're going through right now with, people. I won't buy your records anymore.
Oh, is there?
You say Black Lives Matter. Like, okay.
Is there a bit of that reaction?
Yeah, there's been some backlash, and it's. I feel super proud to be on this particular tour. Just on tour with them in general, but it's super cool to be on this one. I think. Well, there's
Why are
this
there like
crazy
people
climate.
protesting the shows?
Yeah.
And oh, seriously?
Not protesting, but
Right.
Not going. And it's more of a social media thing that you see.
It's
the
amazing
buzz,
to watch
but-
people be offended by, Black Lives Matter. It's just
Yeah. You're really
amazing to watch
missing
people
the
just
point.
really, yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
just really not getting it. We
Yeah.
all know like white lives matter. That really isn't in question.
Kill all white people. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
no. Yeah, and I don't know. It's just it's also really frustrating to me to hear the whole like keep politics out of music. Like
Yeah, why?
human beings make music, and
I mean, I talk about that all the time. How
Yeah.
sort of lacking in any kind of social conscience, mainstream rock and roll or pop music is these days.
yeah. And I mean, I'm one to talk because I write about romance and Jane Eyre or whatever. But like, I care about the people. I don't know. It's someone tweeted me
the
the other
people.
day, like the people. But someone tweeted me the other day, like, I'm glad you don't tweet about politics because I follow you for your craft, not politics junk. And I'm like, for one thing, Twitter isn't my craft. And two, like, why are entertainers supposed to just sit down and, shut up and sing, I guess is the quote. But,
Well, I may have just blown that
Makes
fan
no
for
sense.
you in starting this
I know.
interview
It's
out
tragic.
with Trump stuff. So
It's tragic.
I apologize. I apologize to that guy out there. Who's
God forbid,
offended.
an American citizen have an opinion about the election, right? Especially one who writes for a living.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, these are crazy times. Speaking of your writing, I read somewhere that you had written basically a whole album's worth of material that you scrapped for this new record.
That was for somewhere else, and I think that stuff got like twisted into this one too. But
Okay, because then I must have read a couple of different things. Because then I read something that you had done the same thing for an earlier album, and I was just wondering if that was just kind of your songwriting process, getting through a bunch of ideas.
I mean,
before
it
you get
kind
to
of
the stuff
is.
that you like.
Yeah, it kind of is. But I feel like actually with Real, I felt like I knew so much more what I was doing because I'd been on tour for so long, and I didn't want to make that like I'm on the road record, but it is very much a road record because a lot of it was written like in Europe. I mean, there's 2 songs about being there and kind of that lonely, isolated feeling that I was going through and feeling kind of like not really a person anymore because you're just sort of
Exacerbated
floating
by
around the
jet lag
world.
and
Yeah.
sweaty cheese
Yeah.
endlessly.
Yes.
Been there.
Yeah. So,
So you ride on the road?
yeah, I mean, I start writing a lot on the road.
Right.
You don't always get the space that you need to sit down and finish something, but
I don't often talk to people that are actually disciplined enough to do that. It
I
seems like
wouldn't
most
call
people
it
don't.
disciplined. It's just like all the time that you have,
Yeah.
I journal a lot, and it's, sitting in the van, it's just endless hours of introspection and, time to think. So it just makes sense that you can start getting nuggets of ideas.
And when you journal, do you actually go back and read your journals?
I do.
And pick out like lines
Yeah.
that you like?
I mean, I know that sounds incredibly self-absorbed, but it's just my process is picking out all those sentences.
It actually doesn't sound self-absorbed to me. I wish that I did that because, I always bring a little notebook on tour and write all kinds of stuff in it.
Yeah.
But then I find the process of going back and looking over months of those to try to find some inspiration for lyrics to be kind of taxing.
Yeah, it is. And especially, I really have to stay disciplined with my journaling because there are days where it's like, I hate everyone in this van. I'm
think
tired of shitty
touring
food.
just does that to you.
And you're like, what is this crap? Like, why was I writing like a 12-year-old? So,
I would say, like, if people ever actually found my journals and put that shit online,
it's my
God
worst
forbid.
fear. And
because it's your ugliest self.
yeah, it's not
Often.
your realist self like people think.
Right.
It's just your worst self. And I have lost journals on tour and been like, if that ends up like on the internet somehow, like, God help me. I don't know.
That's funny.
It's terrifying.
I read a quote of yours that I wanted to ask you about.
Hopefully it's a good one.
It's a good one, but it's sort of you referenced just a minute ago being having social anxiety or something, and this in your quote was, "It's weird for someone who does not like to be the center of attention to do something that's so narcissistic and exhibitionist." So my question for you is, do you actually not like being the center of attention? If so, that's kind of a weird job choice of yours, being very much the, a solo artist.
Yeah, I
and
don't like
center
being
of attention.
I don't necessarily think I don't like being the center of attention on stage. That doesn't bother me, but it's all the other stuff and kind of being in charge of people and, doing all the interviews and the promo. That makes me nervous and uncomfortable because it's like...
When you say being in charge of people, you mean like specifically your bandmates?
Yeah.
What, as far as like play this and you're overplaying and you're underplaying.
And just every day,
make it to
like
lobby
even
call.
just like this is where we're eating and just little things like that. I feel so uncomfortable doing, and I'm trying to get a little more womanly about it and like grow into it. But yeah, I mean, in social situations, I definitely want to just disappear and blend in as much as possible. Is
your band a band, or do you sort of get people together when you're going on tour? How does that work?
We've been a pretty solid unit for like at least Ben, the bass player, and Todd, the guitar player, I've been with for 7 years now, and everyone else like at least 2 years. So to me, it's a solid thing.
And that's who you record with. Like you record with your own band.
Yeah.
So how hands-on are you with, I mean, you're the songwriter. Are you sort of dictating, not maybe dictating's the wrong word, but are you running the show in the studio and telling everybody what to play? And are you just kind of letting them do their own thing?
I think it's more of a playground than that. I mean, to an extent, there is like, I'd like to hear this on this song, or this is the mood that we're going for. But kind of the reason why I have a solid band is because I trust them so much to like make good decisions. It's like almost like we're in each other's heads sometimes. And especially with this record, we kind of just had like every instrument out and kind of everyone was running around playing random shit. Like there was a keyboard and literally everyone at the band at one point put a keyboard line on a song. So I like that level of trust that I have with them to do the right thing mostly.
Have you always toured a ton? Are you guys like a road dog kind of band?
Yeah, mostly. I mean, I really started doing it when I was like 19, I think is when I started heavily touring. And pretty much since then, I've been doing it most of the time.
Did your first album come out when you were 19?
Yeah.
And how did you, I mean, kind of getting out of order here, but how did you wind up getting a record deal? Like, have you always been on Bloodshot?
Yeah. And that was because actually my current manager is the cousin of my former manager. So, and my current manager
there's a
is
story
in
there.
Chicago, and he's in Chicago, and my former manager Steve had given him a copy of The Only Man, my first record, and I think that's kind of how it got into the hands of Bloodshot, because they all know each other, and that was, I had just put out The Only Man. I had finished it probably a long time before that, and I had already started working on Indestructible Machine, so that was when Bloodshot was interested.
Yourself?
Yeah, it was on a small label that my manager was putting together, and I was like one of the first bands that he worked with, and I had started making The Only Man when I was like 16, and it didn't come out until I was 19. So
really,
by the time Bloodshot was like interested in what we were doing, we were already working on Indestructible Machine, and that's kind of
from 16 to 19.
Yeah,
that's like a lifetime.
Yeah, it was,
by the time you put that out,
when you're a teenager, you're like, I'm old now. Especially, like.
Well, not so much from being too old, but like had your taste changed,
yeah,
your songwriting, all that.
Yeah, it's all those things. Because you have the dream of being like the youngest possible person to put their first record out. And then also, I did change so much, and it's, there's been the whole thing of like, if I say anything negative about my first record, it's like, well, you're just being ungrateful for the opportunity you were given, to make this record. And it's like, well, no, it's just, my taste did change so much, and my musical goals changed a lot. Yeah. Between those two records. So.
I mean, your records now and that record they're very different sounding.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot more, I don't know, old school honky tonk kind of flavor.
Yeah, definitely.
In that first one.
Yeah.
What were you listening to growing up? Like, what music influenced you the most?
I mean, growing up, it was a lot of pop music just because I was right in that horrible era of like Britney Spears coming out. And
Is it true that you have a Kesha tattoo?
it is
I
true.
read that somewhere as
it's
well.
a stick and poke, so it's not the greatest, but it's there. And yeah, I love that's really the stuff that kind of gets me pumped up and amped up. But as far as songwriting influences, it was more like Bob Dylan and Jackson Brown. I was, stuff that my parents listened to. And my mom was into like Lou Reed and Nick Lowe and Elvis Costello. So that was kind of...
So you had the benefit of having parents with really good musical taste.
Yeah.
So that was just around. Like, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Coshocton, Ohio. So it was the middle of nowhere.
What's that close to?
Nothing. It's Eastern Ohio. It's like an hour and a half like east of Columbus, which is where I live now.
Okay.
And yeah, so it was weird, like, the radio was all like the pop country stuff and like Kid Rock. And then my parents were like, we're listening to the Clash kids. So I don't know. It was, and, being kind of young and out there and, in the dial up internet era where it was hard to like really find cool stuff, to listen to out there for me anyway. So I'm glad my parents had some okay taste.
Yeah, I think it's like kind of a disadvantage for people nowadays that it's so readily available.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
I
insane.
look at my own kids and it's like they have so many choices that they choose nothing.
Yeah, it can get overwhelming with new music. I'm like, God, do I really have the energy to like sift through all this stuff? And then my nephew's like a 7-year-old music snob because there's like Spotify. And it's just like, it's weird. It's interesting to see that climate change though.
And when did you start playing and singing and writing songs and stuff?
Writing songs, I started doing that when I was like 15. I'd been in a band with my sisters for a couple of years at that point, and I was playing bass. And I basically grew up just thinking I was going to be like a pop singer. So I was just waiting for the day that, I had my musical breakthrough and could write a song, which didn't really happen until I was like 15.
Didn't anybody explain to you that to be a pop singer, you don't have to write your own songs?
I know. That's what I didn't understand. But I wanted to be like an ethical pop singer, I guess.
Well, you may have achieved that goal.
Yeah. So now I'm there.
So you're playing in a band with your sister, playing bass. When did you become like a solo artist? When did you take center stage?
Yeah, that was like 16. I started playing out my own
So you
songs.
just started playing. You started making a record basically right when you made that shift.
Yeah, which is hilarious to me now.
Like, what made you think that you could do that? I think that's great. To have that sort of confidence.
I just really wanted to. At the time I was like working, air quotes, in a studio, which basically means I was hanging out in a studio and watching people record. I was kind of interning there. And
did you get some free studio
so
time?
yeah, I could just like record my demos. And I played a show with the band 500 Miles to Memphis, and that's when I met the producer of The Only Man. So I had already had my demos and I was just kind of ready to go. And at that point, my only goal was like to write all the songs that I possibly could so that I could like have an entire set to play and not just have to play like Hank Williams songs the whole time.
So do you still have a bunch of those songs that you haven't put on records from that era?
Yeah, there's a few.
Do you ever listen back to that stuff?
No, I haven't listened to it in a long time, but I've given out so many of those old demos and people are like, why do you never play this song? It's like the best one you ever wrote. I'm like, damn, dude, I was like 15. Don't say that. But like, yeah, it's a lot more simplistic, very honky tonk stuff. So I don't know. I still like to revisit it sometimes and play the old stuff just because it's, therapeutic to sing that old timey stuff.
And do you feel like your songwriting process has changed much over the years, or is it still?
Yeah, I think it's a little, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely different because when I was younger, I was just like constantly coming up with hooks and like, I want to write a song about this. And then I'd sit down and do the whole like thing.
So you would start with like the
chugging
hook
along.
line and then work backwards?
Yeah.
That kind of thing?
And I feel like I'm a lot more musically oriented now when I write. I start more with melody or like a guitar line, and kind of lyrics come a little bit later to me now, whereas it used to be like just tons of, rhymey, very simple, sort of plot-driven songwriting that it has changed a little bit for me.
I've heard words like unfiltered, roughneck, country punk, and phrases like that to describe your songwriting. What say you to those claims?
I mean, I can't deny that I started out really straight country, and also just being from the country and like the kind of person I am, I'll always have that in me. But I feel like stylistically now it would be disingenuous to call myself a country artist, just straight up country.
Hasn't that term or genre become so diffuse that like you theoretically could call yourself? It just seems to me that people just call, and I'm not like one of the, I don't care. I get everything evolves, and I'm not saying like you're bad and you're good or whatever. But like, it just seems like there is no real clear guideline as to what
there
is or isn't.
And I really feel like, I mean, you have to an extent use genre to describe yourself because, you can't just be like, I just do whatever, man. And then you don't know how to describe yourself to people and they don't care about listening to you. But
I feel like that's what Americana is. It's the catch-all
that's what
for
that's
anything.
Become, yeah. But it's like, I feel like our live show is so rock and roll too that it's weird to find out where you fit, And to me as a songwriter, it's like I don't really want to be stuck in any sort of genre. Like,
sure.
We just made our poppiest record, but the stuff I've been writing lately has definitely been more in the Americana vein, in my opinion. So, it's like I can't promise anyone anything about what I'm going to do next,
I mean, you've made a bunch of records in a relatively short amount of time. Are you the type of writer that you just write constantly?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been writing as much lately just because, finishing Real and then waiting so long for it to come out and then now touring on it. I'm just sort of trying to get my songwriting legs back. And I think it really takes like kind of exhausting the record on the road to really know where you need to go next.
It probably changes a lot. I'm guessing the songs that you're playing from the last album, I'm guessing have evolved, even just taking them out on the road.
Yeah, totally.
A lot of what I read about you and sort of getting ready for this interview, even in your actual bio, sort of promotes you as as this tough persona.
Yeah.
Why? Where does that come from? Because then I've read some quotes of where you sort of dismiss that, But but I'm wondering, why is that the perception of you?
I think if you're a female who swears and sort of doesn't put a lot of rules on your songwriting, I guess you're tough. I don't know, like you're a badass, but
yeah, what does that mean?
I don't know. I feel like this really delicate, weepy person most of the time, but most of the men I know are like, you're such a strong, tough woman. And I'm like, God, I do not feel like that. But I do have sort of a brazen, crass, outward persona. So I guess I'll take tough. I guess being tough isn't bad, but I don't feel like it most of the time. So
I haven't seen you play live yet, but I'm going to try to get to one of these shows over the next couple of nights with Drive By Truckers. So I'm wondering if maybe some of that is your onstage.
Yeah, I think
persona.
it is that. I'm a pretty sarcastic, dry person most of the time, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, I think obviously everyone has multiple sides to their personality, and probably me more so than most. I am really shy and would like to be the quiet sort of elegant person, but I think the way that my shyness translates is to be like self-deprecating and sort of, blunt.
Right.
And that might be why I get called a badass. I've never actually done anything badass, but I don't know.
You can start now. You can kick some shit around in this
Yeah, I
office
was
right
gonna say,
now, and then I'll
start
put that in the
fucking shit
podcast.
up. Yeah.
Sometimes when I interview people, I tweet, hey, I'm interviewing
Yeah.
Lydia Loveless, and if there are any questions you want me to ask her, type of thing, which I did yesterday. And so I got some questions for you from the great world of the internet.
Yes, it's wonderful.
Some of them I don't really understand, but maybe they'll make sense to you. This is from Moxley Says Nope. I'm mispronouncing that.
I do that all the time. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
Oh,
I did
get
that
it.
looking at a tweet from Dwight Yoakam. I was like, Dwighty Oakham?
Dwight
Who the hell's Dwighty Oakham?
That's my new side project.
Yeah, there you go. Who's also from Ohio, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. It says, can you ask her if I can pet her cat because I really want to? Do you have
my
a cat,
God.
and does the world know you have a cat?
I
And is this
do.
part of your thing?
Yeah, well, I about a year ago adopted a cat, and I did sort of become crazy cat lady on Instagram, so that must be why. And yeah, he's super awesome, so I post a lot of videos and pictures of him.
We just got a cat that has changed our
Yeah.
house's life. It's
That's
crazy.
awesome.
I'll show you a video when we're done with this interview, because that won't translate well for the podcast.
Yeah.
But my new cat, and my dog wrestle like nothing you've ever seen. It's the greatest thing in
That's
the world.
awesome. What
Yeah.
kind of dog do you have?
He's a mini husky.
Oh, that's
And he
cute.
finally has a friend, because I have an old cat that hates my dog because the cat was there first. And all the dog ever wanted to do was be pals with the cat. Cat
Yeah.
didn't want to have anything to do with it. We get this new cat. New cat loves the dog. It's
Oh,
like
that's
it's
great.
changed my little doggy's whole world.
Yeah.
Anywho, so I know you obviously have a Chicago connection, being Bloodshot, and you just said your management's in Chicago. So
Yeah.
maybe this means something to you. It's from Ethan Hamilton, who asks, when did she develop her love for baseball? And does she think the Cubs are going all the way this year? I better get this up online quick, so all this is still topical.
Yeah. Oh God. I grew up really close with my little brother, who was a baseball player and like went to all of his like little league games and travel teams and would like, flirt with his baseball teammates and stuff. So that I was just kind of raised, my dad loved baseball, my grandpa loved baseball, and they loved the Reds. And I never really paid attention to Major League until we started touring. And I realized if I was going to have anything to do, I had to like get into a sport, because that's all that's ever on TV in the hotel rooms, and like that's all anyone talks about. So I was like, I guess I'll start paying attention to Major League Baseball. And I was in Chicago a while ago, and I was like, I should just go to a Cubs game. And it was kind of this life-changing, awesome thing that I just went totally by myself and had a really great time. And then the Cubs started doing really well. So I don't know. Hopefully,
maybe you have this experience coming to, as you came to baseball as, or at least to be a Cubs fan as an adult. Mm-hmm. I became an Arsenal fan, football team in London as an adult. I have no ties to family ties, and like for a lot of people that are actually from England, it's like where you grew up sort of determines. Yeah. So I am constantly questioned and nitpicked by my friends and others. Like, well, why would you're it's not real. Your love of the team.
Yeah, it is. It's been funny because like, my dad was like, you're just being a fair weather fan. I'm like, because he loves the Reds, and the Cubs kicked the shit out of the Reds the day that I went to Wrigley, and I was like, I don't know. I really just like can't explain it. Maybe it's because I like the color blue. I don't know.
You just get hooked.
Really
exactly. Why do we like
into
anything?
it? Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's been enjoyable to watch.
Okay, and Mark Ochoa 80 on the Twitter.
That's your real name.
Yeah, really. Said, what compelled her to make music? Maybe what album changed her life, if there was one?
I mean, as far as what compelled me to make music. It was just kind of always around in my life and in my house, and I don't know, it just kind of made everything better and more interesting to me. And you know, my dad's a drummer, and all my siblings played piano, and I started taking piano lessons, and I don't know, it just seemed like a really cool thing to do. It was like the only cool thing that I could do, because I was like this homeschooled nerdy kid, and I was like, well, if I can just be like a rock star, then that's cool. And like, I guess
success, mission accomplished.
Album. I mean, I definitely loved listening to Blood on the Tracks when I was a kid. My mom played that record a lot, so
Yeah, great record.
yeah, that's probably a good songwriting.
For the kids listening out there, that's Bob Dylan. Throw that out there. That's Bob Dylan. This doesn't come from the internet, but I was wondering if you could tell me what the story is behind your song, and we can leave it at this, and then you can play a song if you'd like
Cool.
to. But what is the story behind your song, Steve Earle? The
Yeah.
lyrics are so great in that.
I had really bad writer's block for a while, and I was like, I just need to get something out. And I was kind of sitting on the couch at like 1 a.m, and I remember writing that song really quickly. But it was about this guy that was coming to all my shows and describing himself as Steve Earle, as a songwriter. Like, he didn't have like a thing where he thought he was Steve Earle really, but he described his songwriting as Steve Earle, and basically used the words, I am Steve Earle, and you will be my, you know, Emmy Lou or something. I forget who he called me, but and he would just come to all my shows, and dude was clearly like unhinged.
And now that man is your husband.
Yes. Now we're married and have 5 kids. No.
So it's not the real Steve Earle.
No, not the real one.
Have you gotten any feedback from the real Steve Earle?
I think he's played it on his show, and like, I know he's heard it, but
So he didn't take offense, I'm guessing.
I don't think so.
He's a songwriter.
Yeah, I'm sure he gets it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming in today.
Yeah,
Much
thanks for having me.
Would you like to play a song?
Sure.
I always ask people. Some people do it, some people don't, and, you know, I don't like to pressure. Yeah, and it's a little early for, you know, rock and rolling. If you want to announce the song, or not, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, this one's called Longer from the new record. So. You're tired of me hanging around, looking like I just lost a friend. But if I did, you don't know who. He goes to another school. Around 11 a.m. I burned the breakfast again, but I don't know what I was doing. Something that I saw on TV, it's true. I need to get a clue, it's true. I need to get a clue, but give me just a little bit longer to get over you. Give me just a little bit longer to get over you. Sitting in the dark, talking about my plans to anyone who can hear me over this shitty Indianapolis band. So maybe I should move away, because I don't know why I stay when it's more than I can sustain. I just wanna wake up every day with you, but I need to get a clue, it's true. I need to get a clue.
just a little bit longer to get over you. Give me just a little bit longer to get over you. Give me just a little bit longer to get over you. Baby, give me just a little bit longer to get over you. Give me just a little bit longer to get over you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's fantastic. Sounded great.
If it's the same to you, then I'm gone.
Yeah, that was Lydia Loveless doing a beautiful acoustic version of her song Longer off of her latest album called Real, which she is out on tour in support of right now. So get on over to lydialoveless.com, check out her tour dates, look at where she's playing, and go check her out, man. She's great. Or her Twitter handle is @Lydia_Loveless. You can probably find out what's going on with Lydia Loveless there, too. Okay, this has been another edition of Walking the Floor. I'm Chris Shiflett, signing off for the week. Make sure you go to the iTunes store and subscribe, leave us some reviews, listen to some old episodes. There's a ton of them up there, and we will be back in a week with, well, I don't know who with. Haven't figured it out yet, but we will be back in a week. You can count on that. Adios, amigos.